Hi guys, this is our 30% submittal presentation. We are Project 6, which is the ARCO Design Build Distribution Warehouse in Butts County, Georgia, and we're Team Emmy Rah-Rahs. I'm John.
I'm Anna.
I'm Daniela.
And I'm Patrick.
So for this presentation, we're basically going to be going through our process, which is time tracking, weekly update schedule, task breakdown. We're also going to be going through some goals, constraints, and alternative selections that we've seen in the past 30%. And then finally, we're going to go through our progress on that 30% and how we decided to go through our alternative selection through geotechnical engineering, land development, transportation, structural, environmental, and finally the construction drawings and model. At the conclusion of this presentation, we're going to be going through our next steps after spring break. So first is our time tracking. We're basically going through and tracking our time weekly by task, description, and day. This is just an example of one of our timesheets that we've put together. So far, we have completed 170 hours and we've anticipated 400, so we're a little ahead of what we thought we were going to be at. But basically, we're just going to keep going and tracking our hours. And then same for weekly updates and schedule. We've been doing it tracking by weekly and submitting it weekly, basically describing our project progression and making sure that our schedule is kept. Right now we're currently on schedule. We have a little bit of overflow that's going to go in the next couple of weeks, but we'll pick that up pretty quickly.
So this is every task that everybody's working on, so task breakdown, and a lot of these tasks are listed under as like the same thing under the same people, but not really any one person is working, or not two people are working on the same task together. So pretty much any like subset of tasks within these major engineering aspects, multiple people are touching upon. The goals for this project, so we outlined this in our scope, and from the beginning was to design a flow-through distribution warehouse, and that mainly touches on structural components, environmental engineering components, and transportation components. And then as an overview for the entire project, we've outlined to do a preliminary site development for the entire property as well. And that includes doing a cut fill analysis, some site renderings, and just to kind of give uniform aesthetics to to whatever tenant would be moving in on that property. The constraints that we have currently are we have wetlands on the entirety of the property, including 2 streams that come in on the side here. They both also have wetland buffers that we're not able to touch, so we're going to have to work around that. The topography of the land has really steep elevation changes. Some of them are like 70 to 80 feet in the course of just one section of the property. Also, we have limited information from the public sector, from Georgia Department of Transportation also, on things such as the crash information and the truck percentages. They give really basic statistics of like all the crashes that happened in a county or the truck percentage in the county alone. Some more constraints on the site conditions themselves. There's a church located on the northwest end of the property as well, so we would have to work around that or be in conjunction with them. And then there's a state prison located just north of Georgia Highway 36, which runs just north of the property line, and that might sway certain tenants from wanting to move in possibly.
So now looking at our alternatives, this is alternative number 1, looking at the north lot of the property. The problems with this that we see is that it's a smaller lot, and because we're looking at a property that for the building we want it to be up to 1 million square feet, it just doesn't seem very feasible. There's also, it would be really hard to put parking in here because of the space limitations. The topography in this area also is very hard to cut and fill the areas. There's a lot of elevation changes, and because of the highway up here, there would be unsafe driveway positioning to get the trucks in and out of the space. And alternative number 2 is the center lot, which is the biggest lot in between the 2 creeks. This one, we would be able to have a conventional warehouse shape, which would accommodate for 1 million square feet. we would have the maximum facility efficiency, and the topography changes in this zone are not as steep, so the cut and fill is cheapest in this zone. And because it is in the middle of the two highways here, it is ideal for the driveway positioning for the trucks.
And alternative 3, which is the south lot, requires an unconventional building layout just because of minimal usable acreage. As you can see, it's kind of a small area. Land acquisition may be required for future expansion. And then also because of the topographical challenge, it would be a costly cut and fill. And then additional roadway expansion would be also required because it's located further away from State Highway 36 and Interstate 75. So we decided to go with alternative 2, center lot, because it overall has the best position. It's the cheapest cut and fill, and also allows for possible future connections to northern and southern portions by the same tenant.
So we have looked at the soil boring analysis, and we've created a pavement plan. The next steps for geotechnical engineering would be to do site grading for the warehouse itself and a cut fill analysis for that specific site and the potential new buildings that will go with it. This right here is, we have all the different borings, and then we overlaid that with our site plan so that we can see which specifically impact our site. And then down here is our actual paving plan. We will have heavy duty asphalt, standard duty asphalt, a concrete sidewalk, and concrete pavement, as well as a dumpster pad. There will be specific details showing the subbase and how thick everything will need to be for those pavements. For our land development aspects, we have designed parking lots for the employees and the truck receiving and shipping sides, and we have a site plan set up. Next, we will do our utility design. This is our preliminary site plan. We have 357 standard parking stalls with 8 ADA stalls, 2 which are van accessible. Over here we have our shipping side, which has 80 loading docks and 150 truck parking stalls, and that will include the expansion. All the parking lots include enough parking for when the expansion is built, so that does not need to have to be built once everything is done. The receiving side has 200 truck parking stalls and 70 loading docks. We are also doing we're widening the existing road here. It's a short road. We have to expand it so that it is 16 feet wide instead of the 10 that it is currently.
From the transportation engineering aspects, currently we've collected all the data that we need in terms of traffic volume counts and heavy vehicle percentages. Our design vehicle has been determined as well. And then we've done a trip generation analysis also. The next steps that we would have would be for the potential roadway alignment design. The reason why that's potential is just because we don't know how much of short road we actually have on the survey plan. So we'll see how much design we'll actually be able to do with it. And then the current roadway geometric modification would be like driveways and the portion of short road that we do have. And then this is just an example of the trip generation. So this was using the IT trip generation manual, basically just applying the volume of cars or the volume of square footage you would have to a trip rate, and then applying that to the split, and would just generate you the number of trips that would be produced during the AM, PM peak and for the entire weekday. And this was done for the initial phase of the warehouse, the 300,000 foot expansion that will be built, and then just gives a total overall.
And so for the structural engineering aspects, our current progress, we're working on the steel aspects. So we've completed a load analysis. We've selected our joist based off of our load analysis. We're working on our girder selection based off of our max moment calculation, which has been completed. And then after that, we'll be working on our column design, and then moving on to concrete, which is our next step. We'll be doing our steel reinforced tilt wall design. our concrete footing design, and a slab-on-grade design.
For the environmental engineering aspects, we are looking into the stormwater design so that we can see how our site will impact the lake that is behind it and the creeks that are currently there. The next steps that we'll be taking is doing a phase 1 environmental assessment and completing the stormwater management report as well as an erosion control plan. So right now we have our site and we have 3 different proposed detention pond locations that we can do, all which are outside the 100-year buffer for the creeks, and I think our biggest goal will just be making sure that we have the correct impervious area so that we can calculate the correct size for the proposed detention pond with the expansion.
So for the construction drawings and models, our current progress, we're working on a Google SketchUp basic rendering just to show you guys, it's non-structural, just to show you what the actual building will look like and give the tenant a little bit better idea of what they'll get as an end product. We're providing roadway typical sections, and our plan is to complete an AutoCAD 3D civil plans and provide those as well. And then our next steps would be a Revit model that includes the structural components and then a potential roadway alignment drawing. And so here's our basic Google SketchUp rendering. It's not complete yet, and it'll continue to evolve as we get further along in the design process, but this is just a basic look of what our final product may look like.
So looking ahead, we have any overflow from our schedule to go into spring break. We did factor the week of not having classes into our schedule, so anything we haven't finished, we can finish during that week. And then to finish out March, we have to finish the phase 1 environmental report, utility design, roadway geometrics, site grading, stormwater management report, and slab-on-grade design.
So going into the end of March, once again, we're going to finalize all of our construction design and all those documents, and then starting in April, we're going to work on the construction documents, the schedule, estimate, look into some life cycle cost aspects and sustainability. We're going to complete our rendering and prepare for design day on May 4th.
And that's the end of the presentation. If you guys want more information, you can check out our 30% submittal report, and special thanks to our 2 mentors, Jake and Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks.